Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm filming with my sister-in-law to be, Krystal, and I'm filming a similar makeup tutorial that I did on myself, which I refer to as a better version of you makeup look. Krystal literally had 20 minutes to get on the train, so we needed to do something really quick and simple. For me, this is one of those looks that if you bumped into Krystal in the street, you would just think that she looked super fresh. So let's get on with the tutorial. Today I'm going to use the MAC Studio Fix Mattifine 12-Hour Shine Control Primer. This is literally Krystal 24/7. Although she isn't oily, she does have pores, much like me, that she would prefer to kind of minimise. So applying this through the T-section just gives a bit of a smoother finish over those areas that are a little bit more obvious. I've actually filmed with Krystal a couple of times, so I'm going to link a couple of our tutorials up in the top right hand corner for you. And if you are interested in learning more about what Krystal does, because she is a DJ, go follow her over on Instagram at Krystal Rocks. For foundation today, I've decided to use the NARS Sheer Glow foundation. This is a really nice natural buildable foundation. I've chosen this one because Krystal isn't particularly oily. She would err more on the drier side. This foundation comes in 40 different shades. As I said, it's really lightweight. It really does brighten and even out your complexion. You can really sheer it down using your fingers, or you can really buff it in with a brush, but it's also buildable and you'll get more coverage if you use a beauty blender. The shade I'm using on Krystal is Santa Fe. This is more for light skin tones with a tan, and it has a neutral undertone to it. The brush I'm using is by IT Cosmetics. It's the Heavenly Luxe Complexion Brush number 7. There is a few more words to the name of that brush. It's so bloody long, but it is a brilliant brush and it is dual-ended. Now don't forget, when you are applying foundation, to also take it down your neck. Your neck is always paler because it's shielded by your chin, so it doesn't get as much sun. One thing I like to do is warm up my hands and then press that foundation into the skin. I often find when you're using a brush, you can still see it kind of sitting on the skin because the hair's slightly lifted, but when you press it in with your fingers, the warmth from your hands melts the product into the skin and it becomes so much more undetectable. Also, I don't always take it right up to the hairline when I'm doing something quite natural like this. Instead, I'll use what's left on my fingers to kind of merge the foundation up a little bit, but then I'll use something like this, which is a bronzer, and I buff this into the seam of where that foundation kind of merges with the skin. The reason I do that is because sometimes foundation right up to the hairline is so obvious, especially when you've got blonde hair, whereas a cream bronzer or a powder bronzer is slightly thinner in consistency, so you don't see it sitting in the hairs. The reason I've chosen a cream bronzer for Krystal is because she is slightly more dry, so I'm going to avoid using powder products and instead use products that give a little bit more luminosity to the skin. The one I'm using is by Chanel. It is expensive, but it lasts forever, but there are some dupes out there that you can get that are more affordable. Bourjois used to do one, but I'm unsure if it's still available. As you can see, Krystal already has fantastic brows, and being as we are in a rush, that is perfect for me because it means I can just put some clear brow gel through them. I'm using my favourite one by Benefit Cosmetics. This is the 24-hour brow setter. Just so you know, this one isn't out of my kit. I got this one brand new out of the box. When you're in a rush, I always find that concealer on the very inner corner of your eyes is the perfect way to brighten your face and make you look a lot more youthful without that fear of it creasing. As we age, this is the area that tends to dip. It always looks a little bit darker. So by making this area look lighter, it almost looks fuller because that's the area we tend to lose fat around the face. It's always around our eye sockets. And this is more prominent in those people that are more slender. Here I'm using what's left on the bristles to pull that underneath the eyes. I don't want to apply too much there because we didn't have a lot of time for prep. If I was doing this makeup without time restriction, I would prep the skin so that it was really plump and hydrated. Krystal already had her moisturiser and her SPF on from the morning, but now this is around 4 o'clock. And as I mentioned at the beginning, we only had 20 minutes. So always be a little bit more cautious around the eyes when it comes to concealer if you've not had time to prep. I'm going to keep the eyes super simple. Krystal does have slightly hooded eyes, and I'm taking my coffee pencil by MAC and I'm running that close to the root of the eyelashes. And to begin with, I'm going to drag that pencil out with a pencil brush, and I'm also taking it all the way along the root of the eyelashes towards the inner corner of the eye. When it comes to hooded eyes, it's really important to always look up and see how much of the product that you can see. Krystal's lids aren't completely hooded, so when she looks up, you still can see that pencil along the root of her eyelashes. And the whole time, I am bearing in mind that this is a daytime look. It doesn't need to be anything full on, so I just want a little bit of colour there. And now I'm going to start winging it out, but it isn't going to be a winged out look. This is just kind of my process of achieving what I want. I'm first off, with Krystal's eyes open, pulling the colour out so it's almost perpendicular to the highest point of her crease. You can see from the wing, I'm pulling the colour inwards towards where the eye naturally creases. This is so that we can see that colour when the eyes open. So when the eyes closed, it will look a little bit bizarre to begin with, because as you can see, it looks quite dramatically winged. But I'm now taking a flat shader brush, and again, I'm starting from the outer corner, pulling it inwards to soften it. If I was doing more of an evening look, I would take it a lot higher, so when the eyes open, you can see it above the hood. I will do this with a little bit of bronzer, but it's only because I want it very, very soft. Now I'm running the pencil onto the back of my hand, and I'm using that flat shader brush to buff a little bit of the pencil onto the brush, and I'm going to start thickening the outer edge. I'm not taking it past the area that we've applied the wing, but instead filling in this area. This is now giving us a slightly more rounded shape, but at the same time it's not going too high, and it means that when the eyes open we can still see that colour on the outer edge, but it's not too dramatic. So you need to think of the initial wing as a bit of a template for us to work from. Now I'm using a clean brush to buff over it again so it's super soft, because this is a day look. Next I'm going into my NARS Laguna bronzer, and with Krystal's eyes open I'm going to take a light amount of that through the top of the socket, just so that it is visible ever so softly when her eyes are open. And then I'll use what's left on the bristles to buff that over the eyeliner to kind of set it in place. You can use an eyeshadow, but again, for a day look, you do want to keep it super, super soft, and a bronzer is not too dissimilar to the skin tone, so it's a nice way to keep everything really, really subtle. This is the kind of stuff I have to put up with, Krystal being Krystal, busy filming us at the same time as I'm filming us. So now I'm going back in with my coffee pencil, stretching the eyelids so I can get really close to the root of the eyelashes, and just working that between the actual eyelashes themselves. Then I'm taking a clean blending brush and just quickly buffing over everything so it looks nice and seamless. Then I'm going in with my Kevyn Aucoin eyelash curlers. Krystal has the most insane eyelashes, as does Tommy. I was always so jealous of his lashes, and I am of Krystal's. They're so thick and so long naturally, but they are quite straight, so I'm just giving them a little curl, and then she's going to do her own mascara. The nice thing for Krystal is that she doesn't need much on her eyes because she does have insane eyelashes. A quick coat of mascara and her eyes come to life. It's insane. And she has beautiful green eyes. I'm so jealous. It's really bizarre because Tommy has brown eyes, Krystal has green eyes, and their brothers, Billy and Jack, who are twins, have blue eyes, which I found fascinating because their mum and dad both have brown eyes and each of the children have different coloured eyes. So while Krystal quickly finishes the mascara, I'm taking a small amount of the Laguna bronzer and I'm very softly tapping that over the area that we applied the cream bronzer. And again, this just kind of helps set it. Look at her bloody eyelashes. So as you can see, we've got a lovely subtle bronzy feel on the skin and the eyes. And I think you know what I'm going to use for blush. This is the Nude Sticks Nudies Bloom in Sweet Peach Peony. It's very hard for me not to reach for this because it suits so many people and it is so incredibly beautiful. Again, this is the Nudies Bloom, so it is the kind of dewy finish. Great at diffusing the look of texture on the skin. A great way to add luminosity. It doesn't have any shimmery particles, it's just glowy. So it's really lovely for all age groups. And I'm also going to take it on the lips because it really has great staying power. It has that luminosity. It ties the cheeks in with the lips. It's a really effortless way to make your makeup look cohesive. I'm just filling in the eyebrows a tiny amount using the Omega eyeshadow by MAC. This is an absolute old classic for filling in your brows. It's one of those ones that suits so many hair types, and it's ideal when you're in a rush because you don't have to be too precise with it. It's not a super dark powder. You can be really, really light-handed with it, or you can really build up the brows. Now the final step is just to add a tiny bit of powder through the T-section of the face. Krystal isn't oily, but you can see there's a tiny little bit of shine, predominantly from the Nude Sticks Nudies Bloom. So I'm just using a tiny amount of the La Mer pressed powder just to make sure it lasts. And that completes my today's better version of yourself makeup tutorial on my sister-in-law Krystal. She is a wild one, so if you want to see more of her, go check her out on Instagram. You can see much more of this on her channels. So as always guys, all the products I've used will be listed and linked in the description bar. Don't forget to come follow me outside of YouTube over on Instagram at ShowMeMakeup, and I will see you next week. Thanks for watching. Bye guys.